When talking about someone's favorite sport, it is a hokey thing to say that wrestling is my favorite. If you were to say that in a room full of badminton, basketball, volleyball, football, even other combat sports fans, then most likely you would be kicked out of that room and probably beaten up in the process. Well, I am safe here in my room, nobody to talk to about my favorite sport, so here's the camera. Let's talk about my favorite sport. I am Joachim Nigel Tanglao, and this is Professional Wrestling Explained. So why wrestling? To me, it is not just my favorite sport, but it is possibly the only thing that I would sit down and watch all the time. There's no form of entertainment like professional wrestling, which encapsulates the breathtaking and out-of-your-seat athleticism and physicality of combat sports, mixed with the storytelling and personalities that you come to expect in melodramas. Simply put, wrestling is the best example of performing arts, blending spectacle, violence, athleticism, theater, and humor, all into 2 hours of live entertainment across many promotions around the world. Now, yes, modern-day professional wrestling isn't really wrestling. Sorry, I'm exposing the business. But if we go back way back to the old days of wrestling, we are talking about the turn of the 20th century, that wasn't really the case. Before the introduction of the World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship in 1905, wrestling was a carnival act in the 1860s and 1870s, entertaining crowds with their fictional backstories to their characters, combined with the legitimate athletic competitions that would last for hours. Catch-as-can wrestling was the style of early wrestling contests during that time that included side bets and gambling, which was popularized in Europe, most specifically in Great Britain. Now, the link between the evolution of freestyle wrestling with gambling, side bets, carnivals, and entertainment in North America and Europe explains the branching of professional wrestling from its freestyle roots. Money became the name of the contest, deception became the means to make more money. George Hackenschmidt, later becoming the inaugural World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion, learned showmanship when he was still a Greco-Roman grappler by Tom Cannon and Charles Cochran, in order to make money wrestling as a variety act during popular bodybuilding strongman contests. He would have matches against the very peerless technical wrestler Frank Gotch for the World's Championship in 1908, where Hackenschmidt complained about Gotch's foul tactics, including excessive body oil, which we can still see today. Nakazawa. He would relinquish the championship to Gotch after refusing to continue the 2 out of 3 fall title match. They met again in 1911, but now Hackenschmidt worked the match with a knee injury sustained during his training, and Gotch picked up the victory, keeping the championship and becoming the biggest sensation in the US until his retirement in 1913. With his retirement, wrestling's interest began to wane throughout the 1910s, with the media pulling back the curtain on kayfabe, also known as the portrayal of events within the industry as real. By 1920 in North America, an evolution of professional wrestling was underway, as the Goldust trio Toots Mondt, Ed Strangler Lewis, and Billy Sandal developed most of the features associated with professional wrestling today, including time limits to matches, more acrobatic moves such as the dropkick, and unlikely submission holds. With this ultimate control of how wrestling was presented, since they were essentially the only game in town, they were able to mold it into a new form, giving matches a shorter, snappier structure, the concept of finishing moves, tag team wrestling in general, and long-term angles and feuds we come to expect today. And a century later, after the rise and fall of many promotions such as the NWA, the AWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, WWF, which is now the WWE, and after the eras of legendary grapplers such as Gotch, Hackenschmidt, Stecker, Thez, Race, Kowalski, Rogers, Sammartino, and Flair, among many others, wrestling became a household name in sports and entertainment, with companies such as WWE, as we mentioned earlier, All Elite Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, among others, leading the charge. Now, as a personal opinion, AEW is my favorite wrestling product at the moment. It has one of the best rosters in the world, i.e. Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, CM Punk, Young Bucks, and Hook. That's the man right there, Hook. That's the man. It also has the best wrestling in US soil, especially tag team wrestling. But the thing that really hooks me into AEW is that they give importance to the ranking system and the rules of its matches to its storylines. Here are some of the rules of All Elite Wrestling that they incorporate, which is basically the traditional rules of professional wrestling. Whew! In a standard singles match, the bout is sanctioned to have a 20 or sometimes 30-minute time limit, one fall to the finish. In order to score the fall, or basically win the match, a wrestler must do any of the following: pin both his opponent's shoulders against the mat for a count of 3, submitting his opponent during submission holds, meaning that the wrestler taps the mat 3 or more times, or if the arm of the opponent falls 3 times, when the referee raises the arm of the trapped wrestler to check his or her consciousness, or if the manager or corner person of the opponent throws in the towel to end the match, or winning via disqualification, countout, or referee stoppage, which is honestly just boring, but we will talk about those later. In tag team matches, in order to make a legal tag to his partner, the wrestler should have both feet in the apron of the assigned corner of the ring. The partner should also hold the tag rope in the corner of the ring post before he makes the tag, and as long as the two members touch as acknowledged by the referee. Only the legal person of both teams will decide the pinfall, submission, or countout of a match, but any member of the team may be disqualified, even if they are not the legal man. In terms of disqualifications and countouts, it is always decided with the referees administered 5 and 10 counts respectively. Basically, 15 and 30 counts because they count slowly. 1, 2, 3. Pinfalls and submissions can be stopped when the opponent touches the rope or has a body part under the bottom rope. If the submission maneuver isn't released at a count of 5, that will result in a disqualification. Maneuvers against the rope or turnbuckles that aren't broken up at the count of 5 will result in a disqualification. If the wrestlers are not inside the ring at the count of 10, that will result in a countout. If both of them did not answer the count of 10, that will be a double countout draw. The use of illegal tactics such as a low blow or any banned maneuvers, using of foreign objects, outside interferences, intentionally laying hands on the referee will result in a disqualification. In other promotions in Japan and Mexico, pulling off the mask of the wrestler, or I guess the luchador, will result in a disqualification as well. For championship matches, the bout will have a 60-minute time limit. In case of a time limit draw or a match resulting in a disqualification, countout, or no contest, the champion will retain the title via champion's advantage. In some cases of a time limit draw, there are 3 judges deciding the winner of the match. Whew! Tapos din. There are many more rules that we can talk about, such as Ring of Honor's Code of Honor, and New Japan Pro Wrestling's tweaks in the rules, such as its 20 counts opposing to the normal 10 count, alongside the many stipulation matches that are vastly different from the traditional wrestling bout. Something that is always present in a professional wrestling match is the squared circle, the sole equipment used in wrestling matches. The professional wrestling ring is the stage on which a wrestling match usually occurs, similar to a boxing ring. These rings are generally composed of an elevated steel beam and wooden plank stage topped by foam padding and a canvas cover. Around the ring are 3 ring ropes held and tensioned by turnbuckles, which in turn hang on steel ring posts, which also supports the frame. The ends of the turnbuckles facing into the ring are padded, either individually or with a large pad for all three turnbuckles, similar to, again, a boxing ring. A portion of the mat extends outside the ring ropes known as the ring apron. The elevated sides of the ring are covered with a fabric skirt to prevent spectators from seeing underneath. Around ringside there are steel steps that wrestlers can use to enter and exit the ring. These rings vary in shape and sizes, with most measuring between 20 by 20 feet like WWE and AEW's rings. While in the past, World Championship Wrestling or WCW and Extreme Championship Wrestling, also known as ECW, you know the chant, ECW, and Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor currently use an 18-foot ring. While the traditional ring is 4-sided, other configurations exist, such as the 6-sided rings of Mexico's Lucha Libre AAA Worldwide, that's how you pronounce it, and Total Nonstop Action, or as we know it today, Impact Wrestling's unique squared circle or hexagonal circle. Hexagon. That is professional wrestling. In my opinion, the most fascinating and underrated sport in the world today. With its rich history and tradition, to its evolution from legitimate hard-hitting competition, to its current more athletic and exciting action. I mean, for God's sakes, where can you find a Canadian destroyer like this in other combat sports or even the previous eras of professional wrestling? This is the best product right now. If you were to check out this field of sport, I suggest that you would check out any wrestling that you would like to see. If you like wacky melodrama mainstream wrestling, then watch WWE. If you want the hard-hitting realism of strong-style wrestling, then watch New Japan. And honestly, just watch AEW. It's the best product right now. Just check it. And that's all for me. Thank you for watching, and hold on a second. The words of the best professional wrestler right now, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. I am better than you, and you know it.